So we did some basic examples. So today also we continue the same addition to the same concept. So we will focus on designing tokens in Lightning. So we call designing tokens. So we'll cover these two areas. So we know how to use a Lightning component within a VF page. So we have already done few scenarios. Today also we will work on few other scenarios. And in addition to that, so we also work invoking the events from the Visual Force page. So invoking Lightning events from the Visual Force page. So then if time allows, then we'll move to token part, tokens in Lightning. So how to use the tokens. So we call designing tokens. So one is Lightning in VF. So you know how to use a Lightning component within a VF page. So we have done few basic examples using two methods. So one is $lightning.use method. So which refers Lightning out app. So whatever the component that you declare, so we need to define a Lightning out app. So a Lightning out app defines a Lightning component. So addition to that, we have to use Lightning dot create component, which creates a component. So it refers a Lightning component. So let's say, so my requirement is I have a Lightning component. I have a Lightning component where I'm going to display customer information. Okay, name, phone, and industry. Let's say these three values. So what I will do, so like this, I'm going to display the data. In a Lightning component. This is assume that this is a Lightning component. The same design, I want to show it in a VF page. So this is my VF page. And this is a Lightning component. So I want to use the same design. This is the design here in VF page. For this, what we have to use, we have to define Lightning out app. So in Lightning out app, we have to define resource as resource is this component. because we are going to use this component in this VF page. So our resource is this lightning component. So what are all the things we require here? So we require an Apex class to query the data. So we require an Apex class to query the data, and so we need a component, a lightning component plus lightning data table to display the data, and a lightning out app to define the resource, to define the resource, and a VF page to reuse the lightning component. So these are the main components. One Apex class, one component, component related code that is in controller.js, client side controller, and a lightning out app to define the lightning resource, uh, and a visual force page to reuse the lightning component. So these are the main components which are required to implement this scenario. So let's quickly implement the functionality. So first one is I'm going to define an Apex class to query the data from Apex SOQL query. Let's say accounts data utility is my class name. Public static list account, method is get accounts, return name, phone, industry from account. I want to display all the records in order by, or else let's display the 20 records. Order by created date and descending limit 20. I want to display the recently created 20 records on my VF. So this is my class name, account data utility. So I'm going to define a component. And this component having the controller. What are all the things we need? So to implement this functionality, you need a list of columns. First one is list of columns. I have 3 columns: name, phone, and industry. And you have to store the data. For data storage, you need another column. Let me define aura attribute name equal to, one is columns, my columns, which is a type of list. Raw attribute name equal to, for data I need another column, which is lst data. So these are the two columns. How do you bind the data? Div style equal to margin left width border and margin top. So I have applied some CSS to the div tag and using a lightning data table. So now what are the key fields? We can use key field equal to id, data equal to, so what is the data column here? V dot lst data, and columns equal to v dot my columns. This is the syntax part, the basic syntax of the lightning table. You can include additional attributes, but here in my requirement I just need these three attributes. One is key field, which is a common for any data table, and data and column. Data is lst data. Lst data is a field, list field, and columns is a my columns. And I would like to invoke an action. I would like to invoke an action on load. So we use arrow handler name equal to init. So which is initialization. When a component is loaded, when a component is initiated, so I want to invoke the action, so that you can write in a arrow handler. So which act as a constructor to a controller. So constructor loads when a class is loaded. At the same time, this is an initiator. So when a component is loaded, I want to initiate my component with some action. Value equal to this and action equal to c dot some action load data. So this load data is a method in client side controller. So and you need to define a controller equal to the class name accounts data utility. So now build the logic. First one is prepare the columns. So we need to prepare the columns. Here is the columns. So to prepare the columns, you know the syntax part. One is label. Label is name. And another one is field name. Field name is name. And what is the type? Type is text. And second field is phone number. And third field is industry. So this label you can put any name. This is just a title of the column. These are the actual API names. Phone, industry. So once you have the columns, set the columns to component variable, that is my columns. So here is the component variable. Now call the action. Variable action equal to component dot get of c dot get accounts. Get accounts is the action. So then $a dot nq action, and the action name you need to define a callback. Action dot set callback this function response, the syntax part. So in the response variable you'll get all the results. So first one is get the state of the action. If action is success, get the response. Get return value gives the results. List of records. This will give the list of records because my method is returning list of records. Set those records to component variable. Save it. So this is for columns part and this is for data part. C dot get accounts. Get accounts is a method in our Apex controller and which will return list of records, list of 20 records. So using a callback action, so you can get the state and the results, and the results will be stored back in a component variable, that is lst data. This is lst data. So the whole action will run in component reload. So this is general part. So you know very well this code. Now you have to define a lightning application. Copy the name, lightning application. So and you must define a lightning outer for that. So to expose any lightning component outside of lightning framework, so this is our framework, and to expose any lightning component outside of lightning framework we have to use lightning out app. So define dependency or a dependency resource equal to c colon and the component name. Now this lightning out app can be reused in any VF page outside of the lightning framework. Not only VF page, any outside of the lightning framework within a Salesforce. We have only two frameworks. One is VF framework and Aura framework, Forge.com framework and Aura framework. Now define a VF page. So first thing is you have to include lightning. So when you define include lightning, so what it does, it will load all the required JS libraries which is similar to the lightning which supports in the lightning framework. So because we are using a VF page, it's a VF page but we are showing the lightning component. In order to load all the CSS and JS libraries, we have to include Apex include lightning. And then where you want to display, I want to display in this placeholder. This is a placeholder in this div tag. Then start script and write code lightning dot use. This is a method. This method uses c colon account data utility app. So you have to specify the app as a first parameter to the use, then write a function. then write a function, then lightning dot create component. This create component uses total 4 parameters. One is component name, this is a component name, and another one is list of attributes, not passing any attributes here, and placeholder, and callback action. Save it. So lightning.use lightning out app and start the function, and $lightning dot create a component and your component name and list of parameters that you are passing to the component, and where you want to display the component. I want to display the component in this div tag, and callback action. So if you want to write anything, you can write here. So once the component is loaded, what you want to do? I want to display some alert message. That's a success. Now save all the components once and run the VF page. See success. Now I can see the data. So these are the results, but the look and feel is from the lightning. So this look and feel is from the lightning, but I am able to use the lightning component within my VF page. So this is the same example. So we have discussed it here. Any questions?
No, no.
Okay. So let me do some changes to the same example. So my another requirement